preview brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the go behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion. Yes, we're talking about round 3, and I've already got a thumb down. Well, thank you very much, everybody. I was all of about 2 seconds late, but there we go. Hi, thank you very much for those of you who are joining me. Thank you very much. We kick off on Friday evening with the Hurricanes versus the Brumbies, and we have 7 changes to the Hurricanes lineup made by John Plumtree after their loss to the Brumbies last weekend. Chase Tai will be making his debut at fullback, and Ardie Savea comes back in for Gareth Evans, who has suffered a calf injury with Fafita on 6. So basically, Chase Tai, Vince Arso, Matt Proctor, Lamapi, Ben Lamb, Bowden Barrett, TJ Perinara. So pretty much a first choice back line there, except for Tai, with Geordie Barrett being rested. And good to see Bowden Barrett back from his honeymoon, so we'll get to see how he's come off the off season. So he's coming out and starting straight away. So presumably he won't play the full 80 minutes. But given TJ and Lamapi around him, which is obviously he'll be comfortable with. Into the forwards then, Ardie Savea comes back, which is good. Kiri Ife holds onto the 7 jersey, and Fafita on the 6 jersey with, Gareth Evans off with a calf injury. Liam Mitchell and James Blackwell stay in the engine room, while Ben May, Dane Coles and Chris Eves are your front line. Riccatelli, Namir, Jeff Tuamanga-Allen, Walker Leawere, Princip are your forwards replacements with Judd, Garden Bashop and Hooson there coming off the bench. So with Hooson, and that level of there's no problems in the backs, obviously. Again, it's going to come down to those forwards. The Brumbies forwards have been pretty impressive this season, and that's where this one's going to come down to, isn't it? Can that type 5 especially disrupt that Brumbies type 5? Can the Brumbies actually put up back-to-back performances against this Hurricanes team? Very few changes, and in fact some improvements on the Brumbies side, you could argue, with 4 changes all in the forwards. So the backs is Banks, Muirhead, Kieran Simone, Chance Penny, Leofano and Powell pulling the strings. But McCaffrey at 8 is joined by David Pocock and Pete Samu at 6. Now, Samu I think we more think about as an 8 rather than a 6, but Pocock obviously with 7 there is a good return. Eneva joins Arnold in the engine room, so he's been promoted from the bench. And then Alan Alatoa, Fayanga and Sio in the front there, with James Slipper slipping down to the bench, letting Sio come in. So that's an all Wallaby front row, with when Arnold and Pocock and Samu also Wallabies in there as well. So that's a strong pack there. Manaray, James Slipper and Louis Lali Makin on the bench. And so obviously some strength coming off there. Swain, Tom Cusack, Matt Lucas, Harawa and Tom Wright. So obviously not as strong a bench as they've had before, but that's a much better starting lineup for the Brumbies. The only real question is travel, and can they actually back up that performance they did last weekend against the Chiefs? I'm going to back the Hurricanes with their by 5. I think with the getting Bowden Barrett, TJ Perinara, Ardie Savea in particular back in that lineup, that'll help. Ardie will help the breakdown, and then those they'll run things from the back. So that's my thoughts on that one. Next up, the Rebels host the Highlanders. Now, the Rebels obviously an opening round win against the Brumbies was impressive, and they had the bye week. So how have they coped with that? Now, apparently Wessels thinks his pack has improved their set piece, particularly their scrummaging technique during that bye week, and that is something that they'll want to do. Coleman has made way. Coleman and Hodge are both brought onto the bench, which will strengthen that bench. Obviously, as those guys come back, I think they've been injured, and then also we've got so some changes on the bench. So changes in the forwards. The backs again are Haylett, Petty, Maddox, English, Meeks, Corabetti, Cooper and Genia. Obviously pretty much across the back line again, and they've all had involvement with the Wallabies at some level or another. Nazarani, Wilkin, Cottrell, Lucy's, Philip Jones in the engine room, then Talakai, Rangi and Faulkner to make up that front row. So again, it's that forwards. Can they get that set piece working? They've had a bunch of changes. We've got 4 more changes in there again this week, rotating round. That's going to be where my question marks are around this side. Abel, Gibbon, Ainsley, Coleman, Hardwick, your forward replacements, Leota, Ruru and Reece Hodge. So a stronger bench definitely with Coleman and Reece Hodge on there. Ruru's definitely a step down from Genia, but is a decent backup as well. So actually Ruru's they've actually gone for they've gone for a 7-2 bench, haven't they? Or I think so, because Ruru's a scrum half. So maybe it's they've even gone for 7-2 bench there. So obviously expecting a battle up front. For this one, I've gone Highlanders by 5, but that was before I saw the side that they had put out. Alex reckons this is going to be a high-scoring game, and he's back in Rebel Swin as well. And I think I can understand why. There was a question here as to how many All Blacks can the Highlanders drop. Now, they haven't dropped as many as they can because they've still got we've still got Wasaki Naholo in there, but every other one has been dropped. So they've moved Josh Ioane, who's been playing well at 10 to 15 because Ben Smith is being rested. We've got Luke Whitelock has also been rested. We've had Aaron Smith being rested as well. So we've got 3 very key players being rested here in this one. Interesting enough, they haven't said how many changes. Most team announcements, they tell you how many changes there have been, but they haven't done for this one. And when we look at who's missing for injury, the Brewer, Squire, Thompson are all missing from injury. None of the Smiths there, you see. So yes. So Josh Ioane at fullback with Naholo and McKay on the wings. We've got Manga Jensen and Tyrone Walden in the centres. Bryn Gatland gets a start with Kay Hamilton. Then we've got Elliot Dixon at 8. Well, 10. Elliot Dixon at 8. Lenties and Frizzell joining him on the back row. Parry Parkinson, Hemapo in the engine room. So it's a strong engine room. Tolakai, Dixon, and Leonard Brown in that front row. So mixing it up definitely in those forwards, and I say resting some key players as well. On the bench, Jackson, Johnston, Laya Surfy, Scott, Franklin, Makalai Tui, Fakav Tava, Tomkinson and Marty Banks. So not that much strength to come off the bench as well. And when you've got, say, those players rested, you're not going to expect that. So decent front 5, but I am worried about the players they've rested there. So whilst I have gone the Chiefs by 5, that was before. Sorry, Highlanders by 5. That was before I saw the lineups. I wouldn't be so confident now. Off into Saturday, and the Chiefs host the Sunwolves. A number of changes again for the Chiefs. Sean Stephen, Sean Wainui, Tuama Manu, Orban Ledger, Nanai Seto, with Dave McKenzie and Brad Weber pulling the strings. So decent back line there. Still missing Alamano and Miyake Kola, who's been playing well in the first couple of games. He has dropped to the bench. So yeah, happy with Orban Ledger in there into his centre position, which he's much more comfortable with than 10. That's a decent. That's not a bad back line for the Chiefs, considering the injuries they've got. Chelani, Karpik and Brown are your Lucy's because they've gone and lost Tyler Ardron to concussion. Allardyce Ritalik in the engine room. Tuavo, Tuaki Aho, and Ross are your front row. Slater, Maffiello, Katui, Prate, Boshier, Lachi Boshier. So it's not a particularly strong bench for the forwards. Still missing players like Kane Hames, etc. Triple T, Nanaki Abeli, and then Moakilai on the backs. So again, not a particularly strong bench either. If we lose Damon McKenzie early, then it's going to be interesting to see how they go. Obviously, Owen Ledger will probably step into 10, and he did well in the first game. But where would the kicking come from? Because let's be honest, Brad Weber did not shower himself in praise in that one. I've gone Chiefs by 7 because some Wolves have had a bad run of luck. Craig Miller and Ed Quirk are both injured, so that's 2 more injuries they've got. They still haven't got their Japanese internationals joining them yet, so that is going to be a bit of a problem for them. Miller's out for 12 weeks, and Quirk, who was involved in that tackle that got cited and required a 6-week suspension, he's out for 8 to 10 weeks after that. So I know a lot of people looked at that incident and thought, hey, it didn't look that bad, but look at the damage that's been done, and clearly it was worse than it looked from the camera angles that we had available. So yes, to me the Chiefs should win this one by 7, but again they do need to get more players back really and show something in this game. A couple of people suggesting that we're going to have struggles in this one. Alex reckons and Hugh, yes, thought long and hard, but I can't. Yeah, to me I can't see someone's getting that one. We then have a really intriguing one. The Reds host the Crusaders. The Reds went obviously very close against the Highlanders, but didn't quite get there. Can they do it against the Crusaders? Just 2 changes to the starting 15 for the Reds. So I've been reading from back to front, so I should do that again, I guess. So Hegarty, Fulai, Sutai, Patia, Karevi, Naivolu, and Hamish Stewart and Sarove are the backs. Pete obviously had a very good game last time, so they'll be keeping an eye out for him. Amongst the forwards, Scott Young, Wright, Lucan, well, people know him as Lucan Tui, but Lucan, Salia Kaya Lotto are the Lucies. Hockings, Rhoda in the engine room, Tupu, Penny Amorosa, and Fotukia in the on your front row. Now, again, that pack is really going to have to step up, and that helped by the bench because they've got Maffey, JP Smith is back from injury, so comes into the bench along with Ryan Smith in that front row replacements. Caleb Timu and Scott Higginbottom. So they've got a decent set of replacements for the forwards on that bench. Tate McDermott, Paya Ua, and Isaac Lucas are the back replacements there. So the Reds coming off a good performance, as Hugh says, the Reds will be pumped for their home opener. And will play with confidence after last week. That's very true. And also the Crusaders have made 5 changes to the starting side that defeated the Hurricanes last weekend. The type 5 stay the same, but in the loose forwards, Tom Sanders comes on for his first start in the 6th jersey. And we also in the back, so most of the changes are in the back line. So let's just run through that side. That side we've got Will Jordan at 15. So there's a lot of excitement about this young kid. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes with the step up to this level. Lots of raps on him from Mitre 10 last year. Some people even suggesting he could be a bolter for the All Blacks. But let's see how he goes in this first. Braden Nenor gets to move out to the wing. We saw him at outside centre or in the 13 jersey previously. But Goodhue Bateman make that centre partnership because Crotty is out, I think, and then George Bridge, Mwanga, and Mitch Drummond starts this week. And Mitch Drummond and Bryn Hall seem to alternate anyway for the Crusaders. That seems to be the way they operate. They switch them around every week, so no big surprise there. Jack Goodhue obviously going to have his hands full, and one of the things we talked about in the post-match reaction last week was that he is key to that defensive setup and making the judgment of running out of the line up. And so he's going to be a key guy there. Douglas Todd Sanders, Strange Barrett, Franks, Macaulay, Leho and Moody are your forwards. Bit of a surprise to see Scott Barrett there. Expect to see him get hooked early. He's only supposed to play 160 minutes in the first 3 games, and I think he started the first 2. So whilst he got hooked pretty early on against Hurricanes, I still think that he hasn't got that many minutes left that he's supposed to play ahead of in the first 3 rounds. So those reserves: Ben Fennell, Alan Alatoa, Luke Romano. Expect him to come on pretty early. Jordan Tuafua, Bryn Hall, Mitchell Hunt, and David Havali are the backs replacements. So if Will Jordan does have a hard time, obviously Havali can happily come on to replace him. But perhaps a little less cover on the wings if they lose either Bridge or Ennor. Ennor, I would say, played centre last weekend, so he's a centre come wing as well. I've gone Crusaders for this one by, what did I go in the end? By 7. I'm not going out for a big margin because, A, the changes. I wasn't expecting Barrett to be starting, to be honest with you. Plus also the Reds put up a very good performance last weekend. We then head over to South Africa, where the Lions take on the Bulls. Now, props to the Bulls. The Bulls seem to be putting out their line-outs a day earlier than pretty much everybody else. And that's good. I've heard previously some talk in South Africa from South African journalists that basically that they all used to announce their teams at the same time on the same day, which meant A, covering it was very difficult for a single reporter or for papers, and B, it also meant that all the news was on one day. Whereas if they stagger it across the week, or they spread it out a bit over a couple of days, that means there's more articles can be written. There could be more of a buzz. It's just generally good PR to do that a bit earlier. And we shouldn't be really playing too many games around who's been selected and that kind of thing at this kind of level, let's be honest. So, props to the Bulls for announcing early. Nothing yet from the Lions. Obviously news that Warren Whiteley has torn his pectoral muscle, so he'll be out. They'll miss that leadership. That'll be key for them. Coming off the back of losing to the Stormers last weekend, with what was an 84th minute try, I think it was. They'll be disappointed with that. We're looking to bounce back after their win against the Jaguares. South African team namings are shocking for fantasy players. Yes, I'm sure that's true. So anyway, here we go. So the Bulls, we've got Hallant, Hendricks, Jesse Creel, Sage, Speckman, Pollard, and Papier in the backs. I think Sage is the only change there from previous games. Dwayne Vermeulen starts at 8. Lindenberg and Steenkamp at 6. I think we saw Vermeulen at 7 last weekend, so clearly back in the 8 jersey, which is good. Simon, Jenkins in the engine room, Nia Kane, Brits, and Goboka are the front row. Els, Matan Zimba, Van der Vesten, Kirsten and Agaban are the forward replacements. Van Zyl, Lilbok and Rousseau are the backs replacements. So not the strongest bench in the world for the Bulls there. I've gone Lions by 7 because I think that a lot of the South African sides have all struggled away. If you look at so far, I think the home side has won every single game in the South African teams. Obviously, the Lions got that away win over in Argentina against Jaguares, but they're the strongest side still there. So I'm back in the Lions by 7. The Bulls really do need to step up. But I mean, the other point for the Lions is that they've had to travel back from Argentina this week, whereas the Lions haven't. So the Bulls will have that travel fatigue in them as well. They won't be able to prepare quite so easily, even though these two teams are very close to each other in Super Rugby terms in the home sides. Then we pop. It's the Sharks versus Stormers. No news at all on these two lineups. I've gone Sharks by 10. Obviously, the Sharks also recently announced, obviously, that their fly half is off to sail at the end of the season. So they've got that out of the way early, and they made the announcement early so they could concentrate on the Sharks season. So the So yes, that's where the Sharks are at. The Stormers got that win over the Lions, but it was last minute. The Sharks have had 2 try-bonus point wins. They sit top of the table at the moment. So for me, home advantage here. Also, what state are the Stormers in? Their off-the-field issues aren't sorted out as far as I'm aware. So Sharks by 10 for me on that one. And then finally, the Sunday morning game, 10:40, Jaguares versus the Blues. Blues, with that loss against the Sharks last weekend, not travelling great. It's going to be interesting to see. Again, no news in the lineups for either of these two teams yet. Will Nonu come back in? Are we going to finally see the Sonny Bill Williams-Nonu combination in the midfield that everyone has been salivating for? We will have to wait and see on that one. After their loss to the Sharks, I don't have a lot of faith in the Jaguar in the Blues here, so I'm going Jaguares by 5. For my Patreons, I've done a video talking about the new World Rugby World League. So if you're a Patreon, head over to patreon.com/DrivingMaul to watch that exclusive video for people and get other exclusive content on there. Yesterday I also wrote an article on there talking about the rest weekends in the Six Nations and what happens with the players then as well. So go over and check those articles on on patreon.com/DrivingMaul, and you can become a patron there for as little as $1 a month. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel up there. I will be doing post-match reactions to the Friday night game. So the Friday night game in New Zealand is that Hurricanes versus the Brumbies. Really interesting to see how the Brumbies go. The Hurricanes obviously not had the best of starts this with their loss to the Crusaders last weekend. Then it's the Chiefs versus the Sunwolves. I'll be doing live post-match reaction to that one on Saturday, and I'll be doing live post-match reaction to the Jaguares versus the Blues as well. So 3 games this weekend. Check them out on the channel. Subscribe up there so you don't miss out. Hit that bell to get the notification. Down there is a link to Patreon, and over there are 2 videos that the algorithm, the artificial intelligence at YouTube says you will absolutely adore. Thank you for watching, Alex, in the live chat there, and thank you for everyone else who joined us as well. It's in the way.